And the Kremlin is using the U.S. announcement of putting 8,500 troops on alert to say that it's the U.S. that is fueling this conflict. The White House's reaction to that?
Well, I would say that our commitment to our NATO partners and allies is ironclad. If you go back to 9/11, the first time that Article 5 was invoked, it was in defense of the United States. And we take our commitment to our Eastern Flank partners, NATO allies, very seriously. But what is important to note is that the aggressive behavior here is on the part of the Russians. This is a defensive alliance, not an offensive alliance. And what we're doing here is not making a decision, as has been clear by NATO partners and by the president and our members of our national security team, to deploy, but just to be ready. And we have a responsibility to do that so that people who might be deployed can tell their family members. It's a shorter period of time, and to be ready to deliver on our commitment to our NATO partners.
Clarify, are those 8,500 troops who are now at the ready, as you said, are they already based in Europe? We obviously have
Europe and the United States.
Europe and the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And did NATO request that the U.S. put them on the ready, or is that a U.S. offer?
It's a conversation with NATO, so a collaborative discussion.
And a follow-up on Peter's question about Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
Are there direct contacts with Ukraine right now to allay their concerns that the U.S. was acting preemptively or too early, too soon to take personnel out of the country?
So yeah, we are in constant contact with the Ukrainians to reiterate our support, to convey updates on shipments of supplies, military equipment, something that's been happening over the last several days. Our National Security Advisor, Jake Sullivan, has spoken with his counterpart at least 8 times over the past few weeks, and U.S. officials at the State Department, Defense Department, across our government continue to work in close coordination on a daily basis with Ukrainian officials. Secretary Blinken, as you know, was in Ukraine last week, and he called his Ukrainian counterpart to read out his meeting with Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov. So we have been in constant and close contact with Ukrainians leaders at a range of levels, as well as with our European partners.
Just lastly, Senator McConnell gave you some unusual praise, the White House, today about its preparations for Ukraine, saying that it looked like the White House was prepared to act before an incursion and not after. Do you know what steps he was referring to there? Is that just the troop deployment? And B, were you pleased to hear some positive words from Senator McConnell?
Well, yes, of course we were. I mean, look, I think abiding by our Article 5 commitments, standing up for the territorial sovereignty of Ukraine, making clear that one country should not be able to invade and take over territory from another country. That's not just a Democratic belief or a Republican belief. That's central to who we are as a country, and who leaders like Leader McConnell or Senator McConnell, like President Biden, that's what their belief has been for many decades. So we certainly welcome that. I would note there was a bipartisan delegation. We have done a lot of briefings from leaders in the administration with Hill leaders. Those will continue as well. And what was the second part? Oh, what was he referring to? Yes. I certainly would point you to him. I would say that we obviously have taken a number of steps in recent weeks, including very close coordination, more than 100 engagements with European partners, staying in close contact with the Ukrainians, obviously taking steps, including sanctions last week, making clear that we are going to have troops at the ready to support NATO efforts. So I would point you to him, but we have been taking and even noting false flag operations and kind of calling out propaganda, but I would point you to him or his team on any specifics he was referring to.